Alright guys, so I wanted to give you the idea of how to get started with your piece. So I wanted to show you a couple of ways to get started. So one of the first things I'm going to do, first piece I'm going to make is I'm going to collage my background. So I have a couple of pictures here that I'm going to collage with. Okay, these are just printed out of the computer. Okay, so the quote that I'm going to go with is the quote I'm going to do is, it's impossible to explain creativity. It's like asking a bird, how do you fly? You just do. So I'm trying to have my background be a little bit more like nature themed. So you can see some of my, like these are leaves. These are a little bit more nature themes. This is like a flower kind of background. This has flowers in it. This one I'm just more so looking for just the vintage, the texture and the colors. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started ripping my paper. I like to rip with a purpose in mind. So like I'm gonna take this corner and I'm gonna lay it on this corner here. So when I'm ripping, I just kind of rip. I try and get a kind of cool edge. I think about what what I want in the picture. I'm not gonna glue it down just yet. I'm just gonna kind of lay it down. Okay, then I'm looking at maybe I could have these leaves be kind of the next shape. So I'll pick them from right here. Okay, you see that I don't really go for really tiny pieces. I'm trying to cover like large areas. So there's my leaves. Maybe I'll put this piece in the background over here. Or actually, I like this one better. Okay. So I'm just starting to layer these pictures together, thinking about placement, thinking about what I want on top. Alright, so now that I have my collage the way I want it, I'm going to start to glue things down. So I have to think about what pieces are in the very background. So like this leaf picture's in the background. So I'm going to just move my pieces so that I can kind of remember where I had them. And then I'm going to start gluing them down. So gluing them down, we're using matte medium. So it's that matte varnish in the jar. Okay, so I'm going to use this as my glue. So let me move my pictures. One thing you can also try to do is kind of mark where your pictures are, roughly, so you can kind of have an idea, so that you know kind of where to put them when you put them back. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to get started, and like I said, I'm going to glue this leaf picture down first because that one was the one that was in my background. So what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to paint with the matte medium and paint the back of my picture. Just put it down. Kind of in the place where it is. You want to kind of paint over the edges a little bit, just to make sure that it's really glued down. And paint over it to seal the picture in a little bit. Alright, this picture I had over top. Really want to make sure your pictures are glued down and sealed in. Alright, so now that my collage is done, I'm going to do kind of a nice coat of the matte medium over it, just to kind of protect my pictures, so that if I want to have any of them show through, I kind of scrub down the paint to get back down to the image without ruining the image at all. Let's do this nice coat, not too bad. And that's also making sure that all of my images are really glued down well. Okay, so at this point you guys can go over and grab the hair dryer and you can blow dry this. Alright, so my piece is dry. I'm going to get some scissors. To trim my collage, because I have pieces kind of going off the edge. So if you look here, I'm going to kind of trim these images. Okay, so my collage is trimmed. Okay. My panel's a little warped just because it's still a little bit wet. Once it dries out completely, it should be fine. Okay, so this is my base collage. I don't want this to show through too much because I don't want it to take away from everything that I'm going to add on top of it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint some white paint just to kind of mute down my my piece a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take some white, okay, And I'm just going to do a little at a time. You don't want to go like huge brush strokes. You want to kind of do little sections at a time, just so you can kind of get a feel for what is being covered up, and if you want to cover it up less and things like that. So I'm going to start up here. And I see that I'm just covering up my stuff a little bit. And since we have that matte medium underneath here, what we can do is, if there are pictures that we like better, we can go back with a paper towel or with a sponge, and then we can kind of like rub to bring things back. Okay. So I'm just going to paint this. And again, we're just kind of giving ourselves a fresh canvas to get started with. Alright, so if there's stuff I want to bring back, I can kind of go back in. It's best to do this when your paint is still a little wet, just so that it kind of moves for you. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now that I have my collage down and I have it treated, now I can start painting with other colors on top of here. I'm just going to get my palette filled with a couple of other colors, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so I got a couple more colors here in my palette. Okay, I have the white, which I painted with already. This is a bronze. This is a copper. This is like a yellow ochre, and this is a raw sienna. So I'm going to start to paint, because I want to, again, now I want to bring color into my piece, like on top of everything. So I have my paintbrush, washed it out in my tub of water. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with just this yellow. Okay. And you guys can kind of see that I'm not really doing big strokes. I kind of do a little at a time. Kind of do X's to fill things in. I'm going to grab a little bit of my other color. Just going to darken some things up. So I'm trying to keep with the theme, like an antiqued kind of look. That's why I'm kind of going for yellows and like browns. I went for like those kinds of old pictures. I never have a lot of paint on my brush. I kind of just let it move around the canvas, around the board rather. And again, as for painting, if I want, I can kind of take my paper towel and like kind of scrub certain areas. I'll get that white back now. This is also adding some texture to our board by the direction that I'm moving. Okay, so like I said before, I had some of these more metallic-y kind of colors. I don't want to overuse them because I don't want my whole board to be crazy shiny. So I just kind of will dab my finger and then maybe just lay it in certain areas, almost like make a border. Now I'm kind of adding like a little bit of a texture in my background, almost like there's like two pictures kind of in my piece. I'm trying to think about how I can break up my text that I'm going to be adding later. Like I said, I'm not going to go crazy with the metallic. I just want kind of like an idea that it's there. Just kind of help bring out certain things. Okay. My finger before. So I grabbed one of my sponges. I'm going to take that brown again. You want to just get a little bit on your sponge. You can kind of dab it to make sure it really gets in there. And then I'm just going to kind of dab with my sponge. Again, you don't need to get kind of everything, every spot. It's just kind of the idea. Now if I pull that up, I like that a lot better. So I'm going to have this texture be in certain areas. I'm going to do it up here a little bit. Okay, so I have a little bit of a texture in the corners of my piece. Okay, now I can do my stencil. I want to just kind of do, I really like this stencil here. It's kind of neat, and I'm going to use the modeling paste for it. So I want to kind of have it over on the side here. Okay, and like I said, I want to make sure that my modeling paste, I want to give it a color. So I have a little bit of this red in here that I'm going to kind of mix it with. I can get some of this brown too. So this is coloring the modeling paste before you lay it in the stencil, just so that when it comes out of the stencil, it just is that color already. You don't have to kind of worry about painting it afterwards. Let's be a little bit darker with that brown. Okay, so I'm going to take my palette knife and hold my stencil down. Okay, and I want to kind of lay modeling paste there. I'm going to just kind of smear it through the stencil. to make sure you really hold this down so it doesn't go under the stencil. And then you're going to peel it up and hope that it worked. Oh, that worked nice. Okay, so I have this cool design kind of on the side of my piece. If I wanted to, I could do kind of another one somewhere else. It's kind of, again, just to bring it together. I think I'm just going to kind of leave it like that. Really like that. And I could have all my words and things going over here. But this is a little bit raised. It's not perfect. You can kind of see some imperfections where the modeling paste leaked through a little bit, but again, I really like it because it's just going to be a little bit raised. Okay, I'm going to go wash my screen. You want to make sure that this is clean so the next person uses it is not going to get red all over their piece. Okay, so I'll be right back and rinse this off. Alright, so I just did my stencil. I washed my stencil out. I have this red here, and I feel like it's really, really stark because this is the only area where there's red. So now I'm going to try and go around and find out how I can add red to the rest of my piece. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stencil again and maybe stencil in a little bit of red. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to just grab my red paint a little bit and kind of just to kind of help balance out that red that's on the other side there. Okay, again, just giving the idea, that didn't really come out too well. Trying not to touch that stencil area because it's still wet. It's going to take a while for it to dry because it is raised up like that. Maybe up here. Trying to be conscious of the fact that I want to have text in here somewhere. So maybe if I add it in the middle here, I'm not going to have it be super dark, maybe just like the idea of those dots. Cool. And I see here that some gold from the stencil got stuck on my piece. That's why you gotta make sure that the stencils are clean when you put them back so that this doesn't happen to someone else's piece. You want to make sure the stencils are clean. Okay, so I have my background. I can kind of see some of my collage showing through, giving me that texture. I have a little bit of bronze here and there. I brought in some red to kind of help tie in with this piece over here. I think that I might be ready to start to lay in my text and get my print block. So I think that we'll end here, but this is kind of like a good starting point, thinking about how you want your end product to look. So I might probably go in again with some more of this modeling paste again to try and break it up a little bit to kind of help it bring into the rest of the piece. Actually, I think I'll do that right now. I think I'm going to take this piece here and maybe do something going down here. trying to do a little bit here and there. Just being careful not to smudge what I have. Maybe I'll go up here. It's just like icing a cupcake. You just gotta make sure that you're not moving the screen, the stencil at all. Okay, and then pick it up. Okay, I think I like that. And maybe I'll do one more area right down here. Trying to, you know, pay attention to balance. You want to make sure your piece is balanced, you know, not just with placement of things, but, you know, placement of colors. Okay. Alright, I think I like that a lot better because now I have some raised areas all around my piece that are red, that are kind of tying into this piece right here. I have a couple of red dots in the background, and I think this is going to be a good start for me to lay out my text and then my print block. Okay, so I hope you guys kind of understand the building of things now, and then as soon as I have my text and my print block on there, then I can go on top and add more to my piece, maybe work with some pastels, some other stencils, use some pen and ink to help bring everything together. Alright, so I hope that this was helpful. Alright, bye.